This is exercise 6-9 in your text. Connect labels this problem as problem number 3. And it's about a company buying a new computer system. And again, like so many times before, we just have to wade through and see what we need to do. They purchased a new system for $52,000. It's expected to have a 5-year life and a $7,000 salvage value. Well, I can tell you from my practice, there's no computer I've ever seen that has a 5-year life. Usually by the time the client buys it, it's outdated. And that includes the big mainframes that run the 911 systems that I work with from time to time. The next thing it says is, okay, you have those facts. Compute the depreciation for each of the 5 years, assuming that the company uses either the double declining balance method or the straight line method. And I know at first you're reading that and you're going, oh man, this is going to take 3 days and 2 nights. It really won't. I promise. Let's start with the straight line method because that's easier. Okay, straight line method, we need the cost of the asset, and the cost of the asset, $52,000. Now keep in mind, if we had to have some special technician come install it or calibrate it or something like that, that would be added. This, they said $52,000, period. Okay, we'll go with that. $52,000. They told us that. They told us that at the end, they estimate, they guess, they assume that there will be a $7,000 salvage value. And again, on this, because it's a worksheet, I would use minus signs to make sure I knew what I was doing. Now, cost to be depreciated, also called the depreciable base, also called the total depreciation available, is the cost minus the salvage, $45,000. That's how much depreciation we're going to take up over the entire life of the asset. And they tell us that the asset's going to last 5 years. So we're going to take 45,000. We're going to divide by 5 because each year we're going to take 1/5. So our annual depreciation is $9,000. So that's our annual depreciation. So year 1, 9,000, year 2, 9,000, year 3, 9,000, etc., etc. It's a straight line. Now, the declining balance method is just a little bit uglier, but not terrible. Your book calls this the double declining balance method, but in reality, it could also be called, and is usually called simply, the declining balance method, because different clients will use different rates. This is called the factor or the accelerator, and the balance that's declining is the book value. That's what's going down. Okay? So, the straight line rate, this asset's going to last 5 years. Each year, we can use 1 year. So we're going to use 1/5 of this asset every year, or 20%. If it were 1/7, we would divide 1 by 7. If it were 1/12, we would divide 1 by 12. We have to get the rate, and the rate is always a percentage. Now, the book value at the beginning of the year was what we paid for it, minus any accumulated depreciation, which is 0 at the first year. We just got the thing. The factor is 2, double declining balance. 2, it could be 1.5, it could be, I've seen 150%, that's common. Sometimes with electronics, I've seen triple, where they depreciated very quickly, because companies love depreciation. It's their favorite expense because it reduces their taxable income, but you don't have to write a check for it. There's no such thing as the depreciation collector, so you don't have to do that. And the straight line rate is 20%. So we're going to do that every year, and the only thing that's going to change is the first part of that, as the book value declines. So, based on that, we're going to apply that to all 5 years. So, year 1, we have 52,000 times 42 times 20%. I just cut a step out so we had more room here. So altogether we're taking 20,800 year 1. So let's do ourselves a little table down here. Year number 1. We have to compute the annual depreciation, the accumulated depreciation, and the book value. So, at year 1, our annual depreciation is 20,800. Our accumulated depreciation is 20,800. Our book value, let me get my calculator so I don't make up funky numbers and confuse everybody. Something I'm really good at. I'm taking 52,000 and I'm subtracting 20,800. So at the end of that year, my book value, 52,000 minus 20,800, is 31,200. Year 2, I'm taking 31,200. I'm multiplying that by 40%, and I come up with 40% of that is something I should do in the calculator. $12,480. So year 2, my annual depreciation is $12,480. My accumulated depreciation is $12,480 plus what I had. Accumulated depreciation is all of the depreciation I have accumulated. So I had 20,800 from last year plus my 12,400 from this year. So my accumulated depreciation at this point is 33,280. My book value is 52,000 minus 33,280. So 52,000 minus 33,280 gives me a book value at the end of year 2 of 18,720. Excuse me, I'm a moron. That's at the end of year 2. Now, year 3, I'm going to take 18,720, my book value, times 40%, and I come up with $7,488. I'm going to add that to my accumulated depreciation to date, and you could add all of these individually to get the same number. But I know at this, as of last year, I had 33,280, so I'll just add my 74,88 to that. So my accumulated depreciation now is 40,768, and my book value now is my 52,000 I didn't put this in up here, sorry. Just going back to I'm sorry. Please forgive me for being a moron. My book value at this point coming into year 3 is 18,720, and 40% of that gives me the 74,88. And now my book value is my 40,768 subtracted from my original 52,000. So I have 52,000 minus 40,768. And now I have a book value of $11,232. Now we're at year number 4. So our book value is $11,232. But remember, when we're all done, we want the book value to be $7,000. So at year number 5, at the end of year number 5, we want the book value to be equal to the salvage value. That's the object of it. So that's where we need to be. So let's figure out how we're going to do this. Let's take our 11,12,232, which is our book value, times 40%. It gives us So 11,232. It says our annual depreciation should be 44.93. It says 92.80, but 93. So our accumulated depreciation is what we had so far plus 44.93. So 40,768 plus our 40% for this year. Okay, so let's put our book value in here. And that was what, 11,232 times 40% gives us 44.93. But that takes our book value now down to 45. Our accumulated depreciation to 45,260. And our book value, if we let that stand, is 52,000 minus 45,260 takes our book value to 67.40. Well, look what that does. That means that in year 5, when we do depreciation, we have to increase the value. Well, we can't do that. That makes no sense at all. So what we have to do is take just enough depreciation to bring our book value down to $7,000. So instead of taking the whole 44.93, all we can take is enough to go from where we were to 45. So you take 40,768, subtract that from 52,000. That makes your depreciation 42.32. 42.32. That will take us to exactly 7,000. And in year 5, we have no depreciation expense, and our accumulated depreciation remains at 45,000. I know that's a little confusing, but what you have to just think about is that this $7,000 is a big old stop sign. Once we get there, we have to stop because they tell us that's the salvage value. When we get there, we have to stop. As such, we go that far and we stop. So year 5, we have nothing. And that's common. Just because you don't have depreciation doesn't mean you have to throw the asset away. It just means you have no depreciation expense. Now, the next thing it asks you to do is how would you show this on a balance sheet and how would you show this on the income statement? Well, the annual depreciation, either $9,000 a year for the straight line method, or the 2080, 12480, 7488, and 4232. These numbers would appear on the income statement each year, and the book value would show on the balance sheet each year. So each year, the balance sheet for declining balance will show these numbers. If you're using the straight line method, each year you would take 52 and decrease it by 9. So you'd have, what, 43? And then you would subtract that 9 from that, and 9 from that, and 9 from that. I'll do the numbers real quick. So we start with 52, and we're subtracting 9,000 each year. So we have 43. We'll subtract another 9,000 for the second year. We're now down to 34. And we'll subtract 9 the second year, the third year. And that takes us down to 25. And then 16. And then 7. So that would be the straight line method. That would be the book values for the straight line method. The blue would be the book value under the declining balance method. Either method is acceptable. Both are very common.